Try to remember the most vivid dream you've ever had. Was it the colors that made it seem real? Or was it the feelings? Maybe you could fly. Maybe you were at school or at work. Or maybe it was a nightmare. In dreams, we're transported to a world where fantasy and reality become indistinguishable. Still, you'll always wake up after a nightmare, no matter how real it seems. But what if you don't? What if you're trapped in the dream for what feels like days, months, years? What if you were stuck for eternity? And if you finally wake up, what would be left? These are the questions explored in arguably Junji Ito's most terrifying short manga, The Long Dream. The story follows a patient called Tetsuro Mukoda, who is admitted to hospital with an unusual condition. We learn that he experiences extremely long dreams. What feels like days in his dreams are mere seconds in our world. At first, these dreams seem almost comical, like the one where Mukoda spent 8 years looking for a restroom, or 9 years studying for an exam. But as the dreams lengthen to infinity, even the pleasant ones become disturbing. Mukoda even dreams that he's married to another patient at the hospital called Mami. From his point of view, they spend their entire lifetimes together, thousands of years. But when he approaches her, the next morning, she recoils in terror. Dismayed, Mukoda begins to lose all sense of reality and time. Near the end of the story, he becomes unrecognizable, his body twisted, his eyes hollow. And as he falls asleep for one last time, he crosses the final threshold and has an eternal dream. As he comes closer and closer to experiencing infinity, his appearance becomes more disturbing. His features twist and distort, a physical representation of how warped his perception of time and reality has become. His hair falls out, and cracks start to form on his skin, as if his very being is decaying along with his mind. This is the body horror aspect of the story, a signature theme in Junji Ito's manga. In his other stories, Ito shows us his mastery of distorting the proportions of the human body to scare us. Characters like Fuchi in Fashion Model come to mind. Ito grew up in the quiet countryside of Gifu, Japan, a place where silence carried its own kind of unease. As a child, he was fascinated by his sister's horror manga collections and by the eerie stillness of everyday life. The cracks in walls, the way insects moved, the strange geometry of the human body. Trained originally as a dental technician, he spent years studying the precision of flesh and bone, an experience that would later twist into his signature obsession with anatomy, decay, and transformation. From this unlikely mix of beauty and revulsion, Ito's world of body horror emerged. What makes The Long Dream truly horrifying is that we only see one element of Mukoda's transformation. His physical change is shown to us, but what he's experiencing can only be imagined or described when he is awake. There isn't a monster in the story. There's no deranged fashion model trying to eat the patients, or supernatural force wreaking havoc on society. Instead, the threat comes from something not just unknown, but unknowable, something beyond human comprehension. That's why, to me, The body horror is the least scary part of the manga. It's only a vessel for Ito to weave in a more existential fear. Infinity. Every grain of sand on every beach, every digit of pi we'll ever discover, every atom that has ever existed and will ever exist. Sum them all together, and you won't even come close. It's a word we use so casually to describe the universe, mathematics, even love. But when you stop to imagine it, the concept starts to break apart. Philosophers and thinkers have grappled with it for centuries. Pascal feared the eternal silence of infinite spaces. Borges wrote of points that contained the entire universe at once. Even mathematics, our best tool for understanding the universe, cannot fully capture it. Infinity is more than a number, or space, or theory. It is a mirror to our own limitations, a measure of what we cannot endure or comprehend. And yet, we are drawn to it. That's why the concept of the long dreams is so captivating. It distills infinity into an experience and pushes it in its entirety inside a single human mind. There is no description of what Mukoda feels or sees in the infinite dream. It's not like Borges's Aleph or Lovecraft's Cthulhu, where we catch a glimpse of the unknowable and its effect on the human mind. Instead, as the sun rises, Mukoda's body simply crumbles to dust. A few glittering crystals on the hospital bed are all that remain of the man who dreamt forever. I think Mukoda turned to dust because of this, a failure to condense infinity into a moment. A warning of what happens when humans touch something they should never experience. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is something beautiful in the infinite, symbolized by the crystals Mukoda left behind. Imagining the eternal dream can humble us, just as much as it terrifies us. It reminds us that it's a good thing the human experience is tethered to the finite and not the infinite. Try to remember the most vivid dream you've ever had. Maybe you could fly. Maybe you were at school or at work. Or maybe it was a nightmare. Soon you're awake, but for a few seconds you're still there, half in that other world, half in this one. The long dream is a story constantly reminding us you were lucky to wake up.